In high school, I was on the golf team. I don't know, a little golf club. And we lost a big playoff match to win, the Utah High School Golf Team Trophy. Very coveted. And like with most things, on the bus ride home, I dealt with it by cracking jokes, by being a smart. The coach came to the back of the bus, and he gave me a speech. He yelled at me. He said, I'm from the old school, and when we lose like that, we don't laugh, right? Now look, I have a big mouth, and 15 to 16-year-old MJ wasn't much different, if you can believe it. So what I took from that was doing an impression of him for the next 3 years. I'm from the old school. I'm from the old school. And he also had a super hot wife, which really doesn't have anything to do with this story. But that's how they made him in that's how they made him in the old school. Well, coach, if you're out there watching, I owe you a 20-year-old apology. It's probably a lot more years than that, but we don't need to talk about the exact number of year apology I owe you. I owe you an apology, not for the countless times I asked to date your wife. All right? Not for that. I want you to parse this apology. By the way, how is your wife? I owe you an apology for not understanding the lesson. I was a young man, the subject of this episode, what we're about to get into. When you lose something as important as a high school Utah golf championship, or I don't know, a 248-year-old Democratic Republic, when you lose that, you don't smile. You don't thumbs up on your way out the door. And I will add a piece to your saying, coach. And God knows you don't need it because you already have that piece back at home. But I digress again. I want to add a piece to the speech that you yelled at me. I'm from the old school, where we don't laugh when we lose. We don't tell people it's going to be okay when we don't have a plan. We sit there and we figure it out, and then we win. Go to the woodshed. Let's start this episode.
Trump is the new Adolf.
Welcome to the Chud Report. I'm your host, MJ. Thank you for all those that have stayed. I know there's been a purge of channels. I totally understand. And if those people want to come back, they're more than welcome to come back. But we lost like 500 subscribers, and I get it. I've spent this week avoiding all news, right? Avoiding everything I can. I've even dropped a lot of people I follow. So I understand it. So I appreciate it to the people that are still watching, that are still here. And I don't want these next 4 years. Oh my God. I'm saying it out loud, right? I don't want these next 4 years to just be about one single person. I mean, we could report on what's happening, what's being taken away from us. But I'd really like to do some more deep dive episodes. That last one on accelerationism, it didn't do that good, but I really liked making that video. So if you're coming here, I'm not going to be like every other YouTube and dissect why we lost, get into the weeds of it all, right? There's 10,000 other YouTube videos you can watch if that's what you're looking for. So that's not what this episode's going to be about. This episode's going to be about slowly putting my foot back in the water. But I want to show you if white women and white men move just 2%, that's all they need to move. It completely negates the black vote. I want to point that out because it's important. A lot of the time, people say, why did black men vote? It wouldn't have made a difference. All right? And on that same note, can we cross out giving completely forgivable loans with the only criteria that you're black and you have a penis in the future? Can we not do that anymore? So let's talk about the white men in this. And white women too. Crackers, as I could call them. You can't say that if you're not white. I appropriated that word. I appropriated it because I'm white, so I can call them crackers. Cracker ass cracker.
I'm just a girl standing in front of the world, asking for a president who isn't a rapist. Request denied.
Ha!
The feel when we control your bodies. Hey, bitch, we control your
Got
bodies. Guess what? Guys win again, okay? Men win again. And yes, we control your bodies. Hi, I'm your Republican congressman. Hi, I'm your Republican congressman. It's your body, my choice.
Right? And you could dismiss that. You may say, Nick Fuentes is just a troll. Nick Fuentes is just a troll. Look at you. Look at you. You fell for it. Owned. Nick Fuentes shared Thanksgiving dinner with Donald Trump, right? No doubt he's a self-proclaimed incel, who I think even said once having sex with a woman makes you gay. But Fuentes, the troll, got a meeting with Trump easier than Zelensky. And to be fair to my fellow whites in here, I guess we needed to give up our wives, moms, daughters, friends. We need to give up all their rights to health care because for that 1 week, eggs were $9. So I see, the trade-off and why it was worth it. Why it was worth your body, my choice forever. Rage bait, sure. But the reason it's rage bait is because it's true now. Catturd, just another troll. He got you. You fell for the bait, own. Catturd is on the richest man in the world's payroll. That's an actual sentence in 2024. And if you're a European country that doesn't even want to see Fuentes, Catturd, you don't want to see the filth, the propaganda these trolls spread. Well, JD Vance has a plan for that too. An American oligarchy is being birthed. An American oligarchy is finally being aptly named. And not even the World War, right? That our grandparents fought in, Not even that will stand in the way of Nick Fuentes, Catturd, and
Thank some people real quick. I want to thank the Nelk Boys, Aiden Ross, Theo Vaughn, Bustin' with the Boys, and last but not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan.
The mighty and powerful Joe Rogan. Countless hours knocking on doors, phone banking, donating, all this stuff we did. Giving money. And this famed wife beater, Dana White, credits a kid for getting Trump in there. A kid who got famous by smelling asses. And the reason he did it is because Barron Trump follows this kid on his phone. Barron Trump, stories coming out about him torturing animals. That's not what this episode's about. But here we are. Young, white, straight boys. I used to be one. I used to be a boy. I'm still straight. Still white. I was raised by a single mom. A grandma and a great-grandma. Very powerful women, all of them. My great-grandma was like one of the first female postmasters ever in Utah. Strong-minded, very successful. And in so many ways, this instilled in me, this to respect women. It was instilled in me mostly because if I didn't, I got my ass kicked. And like these kids with all the hormones, the first time I got a girlfriend, I was like 14. And it was just make-out fests all the time, right? I don't even think I remember her name. But the next girlfriend I had, we became friends.
Gay!
And this is what social media... Oh my God, I sound like an old man. I guess because I am old. But back in my day, we didn't have social media. But social media has created this perception, where women are just objects on Instagram for you to flip through. I'm even sustainable to it. Even me here in my 20s, right? But when you become friends with a girl, right? When you become friends with a woman, or wherever you're at in life, when you become friends with them, they're not this object anymore. They're real people, right? Not just to be lusted over. But when you're a horny kid and you're an incel who might not have the dank personality, 14-year-old MJ had, you know what I'm saying? they become almost like an enemy to you. When I was a kid and I was alone, I didn't have a cell phone to scroll through all the hate media. Not because we were poor, but because they hadn't been invented yet, right? So when I was a kid, I was alone, I'd play like Mortal Kombat. That's what I would do. For some reason, that really pissed off Hillary Clinton back in the 90s. When I was a kid and I was alone, I wanted to be out there with the other kids, you know? That's what you want to do. Now when you're a kid and you're alone, Joe Rogan, Aiden Ross, UFC. If you open Twitter, every right-winger is there, right in your face, giving you excuses on why you don't have a girlfriend, on why girls don't like you yet, why you might not even have any friends. They're giving you excuses so you engage with their content. Andrew Breitbart, who was responsible for the great cocaine shortage of 2012. You guys all remember the great cocaine shortage of 2012. I mean, he only lived through 2 months of it. And he caused the whole thing, so you can only imagine. Breitbart left Steve Bannon and Ben Shapiro with their mantras. Politics is downstream from culture, right? They were blessed with this renaissance of YouTube and now TikTok algorithms that just churned this content to these angry boys. And honestly, these angry teens. And in today's day and age, these angry men. And if you just think about it in those terms, the equivalent in the 90s would be me inviting a girl back to my house to watch a VHS of this guy sniffing Andrew Tate's farts, and then watching Andrew Tate, how happy he is that he just took her rights away. It would be creepy back then. It's still creepy now. And it's probably one of the reasons you don't have a girlfriend. This problem is perpetual. There have always been lowly incels, right? And every one of them I've ever known acts just like this guy. Just like him. Yeah, I know he has 13 kids, but you know, even if the guy from the Goonies could get laid if he had $250 billion, so I wouldn't put too much stock in that. Back to Steve Bannon for a second, right? This has to be the only guy in the history of prisons. The history of prisons dating all the way back 4,000 years that ever got fatter in prison. I mean, I figured he could flash some of his tattoos to the Brotherhood, get some yard time with him, but I guess not.
Matt Walsh, welcome back. Matt Walsh, I think, is a very smart and a funny guy. Just put up on Twitter.
Get better friends.
Now that the election is over, I think we can finally say that, yeah, actually Project 2025 is the agenda.
Ha! Gotta. To the surprise of literally no one, right? And if I was an 18-year-old angry virgin, you know, I followed this butt on Instagram. If I was an angry virgin who saw her sporting this fascist attire, maybe I would start to invest my personality more into MAGA and less into Clearasil and a gym membership. And the lesson I take as an older man is don't get advice from big butts on the internet, especially their hot takes. Like Trump super promised no Project 2025, so checkmate to me. My only good advice about big butts on the internet is if you're into farts, the attack on women from the American right is just an offshoot of Ronald Reagan bringing in the evangelicals, bringing in all the radical Christians. It's why only seconds after Trump was announced the winner, after we all knew he would win, the owning online, the coming out, they're just trolls, was all about women knowing their role in the house and in life. And, you know, this is the base that's going to make up this party. You could call them trolls, but this is who the base follows. This is who they listen to. They want everything from no-fault divorce ban to government menstrual checks on little girls. And this lines up perfectly to those angry boys, those angry teens, those angry young men who are angry at the women who will not pay attention to them, right? Mainly because they want to show videos like this. You know what I mean?
For a president who isn't a rapist.
Come back to my house.
My son is, I don't talk about my kids a lot on the show, but I will just for a moment. Like, I love my kids. They're totally incredible. I think the universe of them. And my son is just like an incredibly sweet and emotionally intelligent kid. And one of the things I worry about, I worry a lot of things about my daughters. But one of the biggest things I worry about for my son is like the poison, the absolute poison being pumped into the brains of boys. Yeah. Boys. Like these are, these are children forming. That is like this rank misogyny. It's so disgusting. It's so pervasive. I think people that don't, like, I see it partly because, like, I like to look at a lot of weightlifting videos, and the algorithm is just like, oh, you like to weightlift.
I like to look at a lot of weightlifting videos. You didn't need to throw that in there. Oh, yeah, it's because I like to weightlift. Unless Chris here is hiding, unless Chris here is chucking away some serious guns in that suit. I think he might have been put in that algorithm for a different reason. It's like my wife telling me YouTube keeps feeding me this lady because her jokes are so funny, right? Using the term feeding me really gave the game away. Now look, it's easy to call Americans dumb. I know because I do it every single day. I do it all the time, right? But they looked up on election day why they couldn't vote for Joe Biden while they were in the little voting booth. I mean, come on, right? On election day. Because their algorithm probably kept feeding them this hilarious comedian. Just like me. Really into her jokes. The problem now is that's become a resource. The idiocracy of America. It's become a resource that the Republicans created in the last 50, 60 years of slashing education. It's become a resource they can drill down into. This Republican Christian Nationalist Party. A +8 number from white women. Wow. I guess this didn't work. Kamala famously loves Venn diagrams. I suppose someone should have shown her a Venn diagram with fascists who support Liz Cheney and non-fascists who support Liz Cheney. Because there'd only be one guy in the middle. Greg, who thinks both parties are bad, and he's been saying it since 2001. Trump's utter destruction of the working class over the next 4 years will leave some small opportunity, to reach the dumb crackers again. Pick up whatever's left, if there is anything left. I'm not going to get into it too deep because we're not there yet. We're not ready to get back into it too deep. But I suspect there won't be much left to pick up. So while this is going on, here's a guy who is not telling me it's all right. He's not coming out and saying everything's going to be fine. Like Kamala, like Joe Biden, even Jon Stewart now. I love Jon Stewart to death. But if I have to see one more show that tells me that all this is going to be all right, I think that's why people are trying to check out of this. And that's one thing you always get on this channel. I will never blow smoke up your ass. All right? Bernie Sanders' statement on the results of the 2024 presidential election. It should come as no great surprise that the Democratic Party, which has abandoned working class people, would find that the working class has abandoned them. First, it was the white working class, and now it is the Latino and black workers as well. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change, and they're right. Today, while the very rich are doing phenomenally well, 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 60% paycheck to paycheck haul their asses out to go vote for a billionaire who the only thing he passed in his first term, I'm not going to get too deep into it, the only thing he passed in his first term is what he's going to pass this time, and that's tax breaks for the top 1%. More income and wealth inequality than ever before. Unbelievably real inflation accounted for weekly wages for average American workers are actually lower than they were 50 years ago. Today, despite an explosion in technology and worker productivity, many young people will have a worse standard of living than their parents. You don't say. And many of them worry that artificial intelligence and robotics will make a bad situation even worse. I can't even imagine what 2026 is going to look like, let alone 2028 if we even make it there. Today, despite spending far more per capita than other countries, we remain the only wealthy nation not to guarantee health care. Health care still to all as a human right. And they're going to get rid of Obamacare if you're on it. We're not digging deep. We're just dipping our toes. And we pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. We alone, among major countries, cannot even guarantee paid family and medical leave. Today, despite strong opposition from a majority of Americans, we continue to spend billions funding extremist Netanyahu's government of an all-out war against the Palestinian people, which has led to the horrific humanitarian disaster of mass malnutrition and starvation of thousands of children. Will the big money interest and well-paid consultants who control the Democratic Party learn any real lessons from this disastrous campaign? That's a good question. In 2008, when I went door to door for Barack Obama, in 2012, I did it again. I was doing it under the guise of change. He was a change candidate. But then he went and got Hillary Clinton to be his Secretary of State. Got old Joe Biden to be his VP. Two people he had annihilated in the primaries in 2008. But that wasn't just the end of it, right? She went on to lose in 2016. Party of Change, Hillary Clinton. Party of Change, Joe Biden. Do they have any ideas as how we can take on the increasingly powerful oligarchy, which has so much economic and political power? Probably not. In the coming weeks and months, those of us concerned about grassroots democracy and economic justice need to have some very serious political discussions. He's not telling you. At the bare minimum, you don't have to be a Bernie fan. You don't even have to be a Democrat. But at the bare minimum, you can at least respect that he's not telling you everything is going to be okay with a smile and a thumbs up. Oops, we messed up. Let's try the same thing again in 4 years. And I feel like I'm dipping more than my toes back into this, so we'll wrap it up there. The Chud Report. As I said, thank you to everyone that's sticking around, who's part of the channel. Some of your members still supporting the channel. Thank you. I'm not going anywhere, all right? I'm not going anywhere. And I totally understand if you need some time off. I mean, I didn't do anything this week. And I literally mean I did nothing. I finally went back to the gym today. Like old Chris Hayes. Looked up some videos on the gym. That's why I have naked men all over my Instagram. If somehow this is your first time here, if somehow you're interested in this at this point in time, definitely subscribe to the channel. Because, this is probably the low point. Well, don't say that. You never say that in a movie. Anyway, I better wrap it up. I'm glad to see you all here. I can't wait to see you guys in the comments. And, thank you for all those that tuned in live on election night. You made one of the worst days in American history better. So I appreciate every single one of you. Chud Report.